Perfect.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Reaction Therapy. I'm Tom Stevens, your resident psychotherapist, here to break down actually TV tonight. There's no music with this. This is the latest incident with Will Smith and Chris Rock at the Oscars, where Will Smith happened to walk up after a joke and slap Chris Rock right in front of the entire world, and everybody at this point knows that situation happened. So as a mental health professional, you know I can't help but make a comment on this. So tonight, we're going to take pieces of this and see exactly what happened, because I have an idea of something that happened and I want to see if you can notice this also, because there are situations here for each person about what this did. And I feel like it has to do with trauma, and I feel like it has to do with a complete triggering reaction that happened really on both ends with this, Will Smith and Chris Rock. But what a situation. Chris Rock makes a joke about Will Smith's wife, compares it to a movie, G.I. Jane, and then Will Smith all of a sudden is laughing, and before you know it, he is walking up on stage and slapping him, and then starts cussing him out right in front of everybody, and all heck breaks loose, and Chris Rock pulls it together at the end. Amazing professionalism to pull it together and not react or come back at him, even with jokes as well. So what we're going to do is check out pieces of this, and I want to know what you think. Without further ado, let's check out Chris Rock and Will Smith at the Oscars.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
Did you see that? All of a sudden, Will Smith's laughing. He's laughing at the joke. It's humor. It's comedy. It's part of the award show. Her look on her face was disgust. He saw that, I guess, got triggered by her look, felt the need to jump up in protection, as he called it, and protect his wife, and decided that's the best way he knew to handle it at the moment. And I think Chris Rock just literally didn't know what to do next with that. And then before you know it, Will Smith comes up. But think about this. Will Smith's laughing at that at first. Then he sees the look on his wife's face. Then he gets triggered. So at first it wasn't a big deal. He wasn't instantly triggered and upset and yelling or jumping up on stage about it. He was laughing because that's part of the show. That's part of being in Hollywood. That's the way it works. And Chris Rock is there. I've seen enough Academy Awards to know that this is the stage where they make fun of so many people all the time, and really bad in the past too. And this was just slight humor, and Chris Rock was just trying to do his job for a few minutes of entertainment, hand out an award, and go home. And then before you know it, Will Smith is jumping back up on stage right here. But remember that first part, which is all is fine and good. Everybody's fine. Will Smith's fine until he sees his wife, and then he jumps up on stage, and this happens.
Oh, wow.
Then the slap happens. And Chris Rock's standing there like, he was kind of joking, laughing, thinking probably be some banter back and forth with things, and he was going to play it off. He wasn't going anywhere. He wasn't feeling threatened at that point, and Will Smith was trying to play it cool, and then just hauled off and hit him, and then walked off. And how Chris Rock was able to just say, whoa, this just happened, not sure where that came from, I don't get it. But it didn't stop there. Then Will Smith starts telling him, keep his wife's name out of his mouth, and cussing him out, not once, but twice, to the point where Chris Rock is like, you have got to relax. Like, it is a joke. And Will Smith was completely triggered at this point. When we talk about trauma, all of which comes from childhood most of the time, either from our parents or key figures or other people in our lives. Could be bullies at school, could be people who have abused us or neglected us or mistreated us. But when we talk about trauma, there is a fight or flight or freeze response typically, but we all know kind of the fight or flight response, which is I'm either going to attack. That's the Will Smith side. He felt a trigger from his wife, I think, just seeing her face, and felt like he had to get up and do something about it. And Chris Rock, when this trauma happened to him, which is getting hit for apparently no reason, there is a freeze response of like, oh my goodness. And then the flight piece for him was trying to just move on, brush it under the rug and move on. That's what he was trying to do to make the show well. And that flight is like, I'm going to get away from this. I don't want to fight. I believe with Chris Rock, it comes back from his history. And I need to check more out with him of being either picked on, bullied, mistreated, abused, somehow mistreated early on in life, and learning how to just not cause conflict and confrontation and just back off. Because that's the easiest way to get through this situation. Otherwise, I could get beat up. That's the child scenario in your brain. But when you get trauma entering your life, even as a grown adult, as a 50-year-old, it can send you back to the point where you were traumatized earlier, even if it's 8, 9, or 10 years old. And all of a sudden, inside your body, you're that 8, 9, or 10-year-old who doesn't feel worth it, who feels weak, who feels like they can't stand up for themselves. And so your 50-year-old body responds just like that. And it takes a little bit of time to get to the brain and go from the cortex, which is the triggering response in our brain, up to the brainstem, which is the triggering response, up to the cortex, which is the thinking brain we have. That's the latest of, it develops latest in life, usually teenage years, fully developing. And when the cortex is developed, that's our processor. That's the one that can say, okay, wait a minute. And that's what he did at the end. He pulled it together and said, we're here to hand out an award. And he pulled it back together because he realized, I'm okay, it's fine now. It's all good. But the second piece of this, after the joke and then the hitting, the third piece was when he tried to chill things out. Here we go.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
So he was telling him it's a G.I. Jane joke.
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
He just said it there. That whole exchange of him saying, don't talk about my wife. And he's like, it was a joke. Don't talk about my wife. And he's like, okay, I got it. And then he's like, he fumbled over his words because he could have come back with something that would have torn him apart. Number one, because he has a mic. Number two, because he has a stage. And number three, because he's a comedian. He's good at this. And he could have torn up Will Smith at that moment if he wanted to. But I think that part of him, this is a guess of Tom, but I think that part of Chris Rock, number one, that I think he has integrity and is not that guy. But number two, I think he probably had some past history where he wasn't the guy that was always a bully. He was a guy that was bullied or picked on or pushed around. And he's learned to just back off and not go there with this. And he'll do it other ways. That's what made him so successful in life, is learning how to use other talents and other gifts to be able to have his self-esteem be stronger that way. But I think he pulled back, which was actually good in this scenario, so it didn't start a huge confrontation. But this is the fight or flight or freeze thing that happens with trauma. And I think at first, Chris Rock freezes like, I don't know what to do with this. This has freaked me out. I can't believe this just happened. I don't know why it happened. And then number two, the flight response of like, let me just move on with this and get away from it because I don't even want to touch that guy. He's a ticking time bomb. And then Will Smith is the fight response, which is he gets triggered by his wife. He goes up and then he doesn't just handle business by slapping. He goes back down and then does that arrogant, profanity back twice to him to try to make the statement that I'm the big dog here, when actually he doesn't look like the one that's in the best place at this point. But I think he felt like he needed to assert that dominance at the moment. And when that happens, it is a complete meltdown. And one person's going to come out as the dominator in that situation, which is Will Smith, and one person's going to come out just trying to smooth things over, which is Chris Rock. But I promise you that has got to do with their history. And if you get good treatment, which I think probably for sure on Chris Rock's side, he's gotten good mental health treatment because he seemed to pull himself together very quickly and handle the situation. Didn't get out of hand, didn't lose it himself. He had one little thing of fumbling over some words about what he was there to do, but that's just, he was so quick on his feet. Like, I'm impressed with how he did that, and I'll be curious to see how that ties to his past. But remember this, if you are in a situation like this or see it, recognize that these triggers that happen, number one, for Will Smith, the way he jumped up and did that, and number two, for Chris Rock, the way he pulled back and backed off, that has to do with trauma. And I don't like it with a lot of people making fun of it or making jokes of it, or man, Chris Rock should have jumped back and smacked him. We don't want to promote a society where people are just throwing down with each other all the time, number one. it's not okay just to go at people with violence because of words. And number two, it's not okay to, violence, attacking violence. That just doesn't solve anything. And number three, what about the real purpose of what do we do now? What does that teach children in this society? What does that teach everybody else that is okay to do? Because these are idols and these are heroes to people. And it teaches them that it's okay to do it. That guy won an Oscar. He won an Academy Award. So it must be okay to do that. And that is not an okay message. And for Chris Rock, I think he deserves the utmost of praise with how he handled that and the integrity that he had with that. I would love to sit down and talk with him because he thought so quickly on his feet. He held all the feelings of intensity, of rage, of fear, of confusion. It was just all over the place inside him so well. He contained it so well and handled himself like a true pro. And that was really cool. Let me know your feedback. Give me your thoughts. Remember, it's not Real Therapy, just Tom breaking down an interview. And I want to know what you think. Don't forget, join us on Discord. We can chat about it there. And please join us at the next Reaction Therapy.